Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Live and alive.
We did it. We did it again.
Later in the pod, I am going to, this is a filter in tease, is that I will be in a different city for a pod, for an important pod. I do not want to rely on hotel internet. So I am going to ask for a Ricky listener in that city, like I did in Austin, to just go over their house to do the podcast with more reliable internet than the hotel.
I was wondering what that note was on the rundown. Like
Yeah.
why you were curious about that city.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Is that city in the Southwest?
No, it's actually in the Southeast, which is why this is a hit. Is why I don't want to do it on Twitter or something, because there's some friction between Philadelphia and that certain city. And I feel like putting it out into the social media world may get me to a place that gets me killed. Like I need a real Ricky listener who just heard it on the pod, not somebody who saw it on Twitter.
It's a real dice roll.
Nah, I found our folks are. Remember when we were in CJ, when we were in Texas, I was like, I'm just gonna email everybody who went with us on the trip with us, see if anybody lives here. And there were like 8 people. Like, yeah, come on. One, it was their vacation house. They're like, we're not there, but here's the code to get into the house if you want to do the pod over there.
Wow.
Yeah. I suppose that doesn't make it not a dice roll. It only takes one person to kill you, but.
Squatters podcast rights.
Yeah. Great story though. CJ, you have all the passwords to everything if I get murdered.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. All right. Just so you guys can still do a pod that night.
Yep.
We gotta hit our numbers.
Yeah.
We can't take a break for anything. Like that is like we just gotta sorry.
Yeah.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
LL and Kasabi are like, do not for a second stop doing the podcast.
I am requesting, if I die an untimely death while we're doing the podcast, whenever the next podcast is scheduled for, I am requesting the podcast go on as scheduled. At least that one.
All right, we'll do one. Do I and talk about the Sixers as if nothing happened? Is that the idea?
Well, you can mention it, like put it on the rundown.
Yeah, the filter in.
The filter in, or one of the plugs before the pod starts.
Yeah. Providence Animal Center and Spike's death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook. Download their top-rated app and use promo code RTRS. And brought to you by Mortgage CS. Become a Mortgage CS Ricky VIP by going to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. And our friends at Kinetic Skateboarding. Get 9.1% off your first order with code Dave Silver. On the show today, our very own James Harden finally talks to the media.
Wow.
And it's just as disappointing as you would hope. A weird new Kelly Oubre connection to another Sixers player, not James Harden. Joel Embiid gets a very high rank on the ESPN NBA Top 100, and a new reason to hate Dallas. That's right. If you're watching on YouTube, we are 100 subscribers away from 12,000. It will not only save CJ's job, will save his life. Subscribe on YouTube, set up notifications so you know when we're live. Kinetic skateboarding. It's starting to feel like fall in the Northeast. It is starting to feel like fall. And that is when you know you need to make sure that your gear, your fit is set up for the fall. You got enough hoodies, you got enough new sneakers, you got all that stuff. Kinetic skateboarding is where you got to go. You need a light jacket. I have a great Kinetic vest. Kinetic skateboarding. The kind of skateboarding shop you don't even need to skateboard to buy their stuff from. Sneakers you're not going to find anywhere else. Go to kineticskateboarding.com and use code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. An apology, as I was attacked by several Barstool fans for not knowing the podcast host of the Pat Bev pod. They're like, you're lying. You know Roan. I actually don't know I don't know him. I'm not that deep in the Barstool infrastructure. I know like the main guys. I swear, I think I even said no disrespect. I've never listened to the podcast or downloaded the podcast. I only see the clips. I'm sorry. I didn't know who Roan was. I know who he is now. He is the host of the Pat Bev pod. Apparently he was a rapper too. So I'm sorry, Roan, if you were offended. I think that's all we got. Yeah.
Nobody else to apologize to?
My parents. I don't know. You? Do I owe any other apologies?
No, I was just wondering. It was just
Okay.
we put all apologies in the before the
before. Yeah. So for the people who skip it, they don't need to. Oh, Bark in the Park is 1 week away. We'll touch on this later, but we are $5,800 away from our goal. We've raised $9,200 so far. I will see you at Bark in the Park. I don't think I can run. My hip is falling apart, but I think I can walk. So I will walk the 5K. I will. Today, we're recording on Saturday. We're at 9203 right now. I will match every dollar until midnight tonight. So CJ, throw the link to donate in the chat right there, and it'll be in the description of the pod. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name, I say the name, I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Rights to Ricky Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with the only guy at all related to the Sixers in any way who has not been accused of being a liar over the past 6 months. That is one, Mike Levin.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Yep.
I'm a lot of things, and I plan to be,
Yep.
but I am unfortunately incredibly honest.
Unfortunately for who?
Everybody.
So here we are. We have waited. James Harden, I don't need to recap all of it, but was going to make things incredibly uncomfortable. That was the rumor.
Recap all of it.
Okay.
Start from the beginning. Hey, is it your first podcast in 3 years? Have you checked out of the Sixers for a little bit?
God bless you. You came back at a great time. Wonderful time. So James Harden, leaking that he would make things incredibly uncomfortable for the Sixers per his arrival at training camp, skips media day, arrives at training camp, seems to, by all accounts, specifically Patrick Beverley and Michael Rubin, is working harder than everyone and is actually not only not a distraction, but is the glue guy, has been good at camp, but has not spoken yet. He spoke yesterday, and I wanted to, even though I think it'll make us all maybe throw up in our mouths a little bit, play some of these clips, thanks to Keith Pompey. Who else? Thanks to Kai Carlin, somebody on Reddit. Let's go through some of these clips. James Harden speaking to the media for the first time at, I guess he's not at camp, in Sixers preseason. Clip one.
Yeah, just to the fans, man. It's just appreciate the support and love, and this is definitely a difficult time. But for me, it's just trusting, people that you've known over a decade, and when I got traded here, my whole thing was I wanted to retire a Sixer. You know what I mean? I wanted to be here and retire a Sixer, and front office didn't have that in their future plans. You know what I mean? So, it's literally out of my control. It's something that I didn't want to happen in the system being in this position. But I got to make a decision for my family. I understand this is a business. You know what I mean? So it's just as simple as that. You know what I mean? I come here today and work my butt off and do the things necessary as a professional as I would do and as I've been doing for 15 years. Yeah.
So James Harden wanted to retire a Sixer. I think he probably also wanted, until he retired, to have a contract of $45 million for every single one of those years so he could retire a Sixer. And unfortunately, the front office didn't want that. I think, I don't know that there was any doubt, but this is all just because this has nothing to do with communication. It just doesn't. It has nothing to do with communication. It has to do with the fact that the Sixers don't want to give him as much money in years as he wants. I mean, that's it. That's the entire thing.
You don't think it has anything? You don't think it's anything that like they didn't reach out to him, they didn't try?
Nope. I think it is I think they're probably annoyed by it. And I think it was probably the first indication to them that they were not going to get what they wanted, meaning James Harden and his team. And I'm sure it made maybe this a little more chaotic, but the answer is that he is mad that he's not getting the contract that he thought he was going to get.
Yeah.
And
By anybody,
which is his ultimate frustration is not specifically with the Sixers, is with his value.
Yeah.
I've said this a bunch of times. He is now coming to the reality of what his value is. A lot of his, because we've said a number of times he's still a good player. His value at this time is because of how he behaves, and then how he played in the postseason, how he's disappeared. But I truly just don't believe, and what this comes down to is, and I don't believe there was ever a promise, but he clearly believed he was getting a big long contract here, and Morey and the Sixers didn't want to give it to him, and that's pretty much it. Wanted to retire a Sixer. So come on, man. Like, let's not play games. But that's what the whole thing comes down to for me.
I like him. I have a couple things to respond to that, but I like him thanking the fans.
Yes.
And then as
for all
someone
their support.
like if someone slides in like an iPad of like tweets and be like, oh, from the fans. Oh God, maybe not those fans. I don't know. He's reading the same things I'm reading, pal.
Yeah. Well, his For You page is different than our For You page.
Yeah, I think it must be. I think it must be. It's just Harden Stan 77.
Yeah.
Harden Stan, Houston guy.
There are a lot, by the way, on the internet. They're fucking lunatic.
There are a lot of them. God bless them.
Yep.
I wonder. So as we said, the reason why he wants to go to the Clippers specifically now and not just sign with them next offseason is so if he trades, if he has them now, then they can give him more money. They have his bird rights to give him more money than if they were to just sign him in free agency.
Right.
Say that trade happens.
Okay.
Harden,
whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. Harden for the expiring contracts and 2 first-round picks that they get, whatever.
Okay.
What do you think the Clippers give him next offseason?
Well, what's interesting is they cannot extend him. That is my understanding. So it would have to wait until the offseason. And unless the Clippers, this is where I think this is what you're getting at, because I think this is where he's sort of misled.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the Clippers make it to the finals or something, they're not giving him a big contract. There's no way they're going to triple down on. They haven't even extended Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So you're telling me what it would require is them truly believing that a core of these 3 players is worth keeping together for the next 4 or 5 years because they think it's going to be worth a championship, and they're going to pay ridiculous tax, and they're going to be limited roster-wise because of the salary of these guys. So that's a long answer, is to say nothing significant, I don't think, right? Do you feel any differently?
I mean, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I have no sense of it. Because what's to say that happens? Is he going to be doing that again next year? Like, is he going to be demanding I mean, I guess it wouldn't be demanding a trade because it would have to be as a free agent, but because he picked up his option. But you only get so many wiggles. You don't get infinite wiggles.
You don't. We've heard that.
This is this is biblical level certainty. You do not get all the wiggles that you want. So
he will play in China. If he gets traded, this is my prediction. If he gets traded to the Clippers this year, he will play in China next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what happens? Does that mean you should have to watch
the games?
Chinese basketball league? If
I would gladly watch James Harden play in China, to be quite honest with you. You wouldn't get much pushback from me. I would love to watch that. Because he would have to show everyone in the league something that he has not shown in a while, and something that he has not maybe ever shown in the playoffs, to get somebody to give him anything more than 2 years, $40 million after this, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't know. I just keep going back to like, what was obviously he's a wild card. He is in his feelings. He's emotional. He's gotten worse. He didn't show up for 2 games. The other players knew that he wasn't going to show up. That's the bad vibe. You don't want to be like, hey, we're up 3-2. This guy thought it was a 5-game series. Unfortunately, if it was 5-game series, we would have been in the conference finals totally fine. But he just realized it's 7, so that's a bummer. What was the Sixers front office's intent this offseason? And I don't understand it. I understand not trading him for nothing. I understand trying to hold on to him for the best possible value because, similar to Harden, Daryl does not have infinite wiggles. But what was the hope? What was the best case scenario? How was this so? Is the second round pick tampers for PJ Tucker and Daniel House solely responsible for this entire thing going awry in the minds of Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, Sixers ownership, whatever? That of course Michael Rubin would have stopped himself.
Yes,
would have
never happened.
Changed himself to the Sixers practice facility.
Yep.
Michael
Rubin was here.
It is the most. what poorly executed anything. Why is it like this? Why
I have an idea.
Okay. Because the whole thing with I hate to bring up Hinkie here because it's a caricature of myself, but the whole thing with Hinkie is that he didn't have those relationships, right? He didn't do those good agent relationships and he's thinking of the players like assets. He's not thinking about them enough. Whatever. And for Daryl to have been with this guy for 10 years and thinking that this is just going to work out and thinking that he's just going to come back and play hard and the Sixers have a good shot because Mr. Percentage is Mr. Percentage says it's 5.
Wow. This is not the way you talk about somebody who you refer to by their first name, Mike.
No, I'm not calling Daryl Mr. Percentage, although that's a pretty good nickname. I'm saying the number chance that the Sixers have at winning the championship that Daryl references from time to time.
Okay.
That is it still that? I just always think about Kevin Pelton on Love Post or something like that, and the computer spits out the numbers and stuff, and it's obviously I'm at least partially analytically minded. I find them valuable in some ways, but there's how do you compute this? This is not a way that it can be done. What are you talking about? Okay. What is it? What code do you have to put into a computer to sort of spit these exact specifics in that goes he's going to play hard. This is what Harden's defensive rebounding rate is going to be if he fully wants to blow up the team.
I've got a response to that's right after Mortgage CS. Hey, thank you, Mortgage CS, for being a supporter of the Bark in the Park team, Rights to Ricky Sanchez. They are also, if you're on the Bark in the Park team, lower level Sixers tickets for a November game. You probably got an email from me. If you didn't, let me know. They are donating to the top 2 fundraisers for the Bark in the Park team. Thank you, Mortgage CS. We got this email from John about Mortgage CS. Mortgage CS, independent mortgage broker right here in the area. Today, Ashley and I closed on our first house, and we owe it all to Mortgage CS. We started the house hunting process knowing nothing. We were completely overwhelmed and didn't even know if buying a house was in the cards for us at the time. Ben, Alec, Christine, Shannon, and the rest of the Mortgage CS team were great about teaching us and guiding us through the process. They were always available whenever we had a question, needed to talk numbers, or bitch about James Harden. Between their team and our agent, who had already experienced working with Mortgage CS for other clients, we had an all-star team in our corner. If you're looking to buy a home, especially if it's your first, you have to talk to Mortgage CS. Let me say that again. If you're looking to buy a home, especially if it's your first, you have to talk to Mortgage CS. MortgageCS.com/Ricky. We are proud to be associated with them. This is their CEO, Ben's cell phone number, 267-391-7425, 267-391-7425. And they give you the number because they know you're going to need constant communication in off hours. You're going to need counsel. You're going to need information, all of that stuff. They are around. And most importantly, Mortgage CS is independent, meaning that the lenders that they are going to, they have no financial relationship with them aside from making sure that you are happy with the mortgage that you get and the rate that you get. Their only dedication is to you. Love it. It's not just about the best rate. It's about having a partner. Mortgage CS is going to be your partner. MortgageCS.com/Ricky to schedule a consultation. Beautiful Ricky microsite there. Call or text Ben 267-391-7425. And if you don't believe me or that email, Google them and look at all the 5-star reviews. There's tons of them. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. All right. I said I was going to address you. I want to first play this voicemail, which I think will get us into it. 833 Lickface.
Hey, Spike, Mike, and CJ. Dimitri here. After watching the James Harden media availability, I think it is time that all of us give Daryl Morey his due. What was very obvious with what James Harden said is that he was expecting the Sixers to give him a long-term contract for max money. And that was our exact nightmare coming after his playoff performance, that Daryl Morey was going to give him a long-term contract for max money. So none of this had anything to do with the vow of silence that Daryl took after the playoffs and until free agency started. Whether he was silent with him or whether he was telling him every day, hey, bud, I'm not going to give you that money, while giving him massages, or even if Michael Rubin was around and was chanting, hey, bro, I got your back over and over again, none of that would have helped. Bottom line, Daryl did the right thing by the fan base and didn't screw up our cap for the next 5 years and didn't give Harden the money. And thank you, Daryl, and it's time we say that. And if the consequence of all this is we have one season with some of this drama and then a clear cap next year versus 4 or 5 years of the James Harden playoff disaster experience, thank you, Daryl, because you did right by all of us.
Now, while I
nobody's
think, go ahead.
Nobody's saying that it's either this reality we're living in or give him 4 years of the most money you could give him.
But here's where I believe. And while I think that the voicemail was over the top, I agree with you that this was messy. I agree with you that I guess you could say, and I don't disagree, that the Sixers probably, all in all, Morey did not handle this part of it the perfect way. But what I am saying is, I don't think it ends any differently. And I think, to the caller's point, it was always going to end up here if they were not willing to give him what he wanted. He always had the option to opt in. He was never going to get, once the Houston thing happened and he didn't get what he wanted, he had no options. And I suppose it's possible that if he had started engaging earlier, that could have been held over his head by Harden and his people, who were clearly irrational actors at the point, and they began that in December. I'm not saying
hold over his head like snitching to the league.
Maybe, I don't know. I guess if you're not allowed to make any offers during that time,
but I think you are to your own free agents.
I don't know.
You can talk to your own players.
But if he's not property of them, I don't know what that is, but my guess would be that they can't. And that's why he was saying what he was saying. Look, I guess I don't want to sound like I'm defending, because I wish he wasn't here at all. But I do think that everything that you laid out after the trade happened, after they traded for James Harden, put that away. You could actually, even though everyone was saluting this 1-and-1, you could actually, I guess, say that the 1-and-1 was destructive because it gave him this. This is exactly why Harden wanted the option for the second year. I just don't know how it ends up in any different situation. That's my concern.
It's obviously better for the Sixers that he opted in and they could get something for him than if he simply walked for nothing because he was done with it.
Yep.
Obviously, that's true. And also, obviously, it's good that they didn't give him 4 years of max money because he simply doesn't deserve it. And the lack of offers around the league and the lack of interest from other teams prior to him picking up from his option indicates that would have been a wild overpay. We would have been suffering the consequences of those decisions for a long time. But You can't trade for your guy, your fucking guy, and then go like, it had to be this way. You have to.
But I think Morey was
have
shocked by the way that this.
What'd you say?
I think Morey was shocked by,
and that's a problem because you've worked with him for 10 years. You trade for him. He's the answer. Whether or not Halliburton was on the table or whatever, or could have been, is whatever. But you decided that you were laser focused on this guy, your guy. Brought him here, and he did the same shit but worse when it matters. And then he threw another fit, his third fit. And you're saying like, there's nothing I could have done. But it's like you could have known the person that you brought here and that you were determined to bring here better than you did. And that's the fact that we were in the situation is not like, oh, well, like there's no way it could have gone any other way.
I think there is a little bit of he would never do that to me. And I think, like, candidly, if you were to get Daryl in a room and say, did you ever, you were aware that James did these sorts of things, but did you ever think he would do it to you? And his answer would be no.
Well, then he's just as emotional as Harden. Harden is saying the same thing. I see Daryl being like asset guy for plenty of people, but he would never do it to me. Like it's the same. It is the same shit.
For sure. That CJ, why don't you play the second clip?
It was just man front office has had a very, very good relationship, like I said, for a decade. So there was constant communication, you know what I mean? And there was no communication, once we lost. So
after the playoffs, James, to that point, I guess, do you intend on playing on Monday or
I'm still ramping up, you know what I mean? Like I'm still ramping up, trying to get myself in the best shape. I feel really, really good. You know what I mean? But there's another level I feel like I can get to and that I am going to get to. So I'm sure there's I think one more preseason game after that. Exhausted?
2 now, but yeah.
No, after. Yeah. So I'll ramp it up and try to play the last one just to get myself in game situations and get used to the physicality of, defenders bumping you or whatnot, and the speed, the tempo, all that good stuff. So I think we got a good plan in place.
The good thing is he's ramping up. The season came as a total surprise. He had no idea when it was going to begin.
Preseason? What is that?
Yeah, it's a good thing. I do like the pettiness of not saying Morey's name and continually saying the front office instead of saying Morey.
He said it plenty this offseason.
Yeah,
he's written it down, put it on signs, had a club girl hold it. Good for him.
CJ, why don't you, instead of doing the next one, go to the streamable one, which was Harden was asked if this could be repaired.
You had a relationship for 10 years. Do you think this is something that can be repaired? Because you look at it can't. And why? What is that?
Good question.
And it's not, this is not even about this situation. This is life. Like when you lose trust in someone. You know what I mean? It's like a marriage. Like you lose trust in someone, it's like, you know what I mean? So, it's pretty simple.
I give Keith Pompey a lot of credit. Is there more here? Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like playing games to be able to move.
Like I said, I can control what I control. I'll take it one day at a time and focus on, every day is a new day. So. My plan is to play basketball, yes, for sure.
Just like in marriage, James Harden, America's foremost relationship therapist, the one thing that is right, that is being written all over the place now is, I think Sam Amick wrote it, is how emotional James Harden is about all of these things.
Oh my God, yeah.
The idea that this cannot be repaired, as if he killed a friend of his or something. Like, when your wife doesn't offer you 4 years max money. Alyssa has a job and I don't have a job right now, so that is a little bit the case of what's happening here. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how much money I get offered as this goes on. The couple of, actually, last thing, because I thought this was, actually we'll do that last. There were a couple of trade nuggets that came across. Woj said, I think the Clippers' view of it is we'd prefer James Harden. We're willing to offer more for James Harden, but Malcolm Brogdon does loom. There's that. This is from Sam Amick.
They're such different players. Like,
yes,
I think that's absolute horseshit.
Seems like horseshit. Yeah.
If they want James Harden, then like they're not going to go like, well, we got Brogdon, and that's enough.
Yeah, that's what we're going to end up doing. That's going to be the Sixers story.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sam Amick in The Athletic said, so where do things now stand on the Harden trade front? Status quo, it seems, with the Sixers holding firm on an asking price that continues to be above what the Clippers can and will provide. As Shams Charania and I reported recently, the Clippers have been trying to gather additional draft assets from teams around the league to increase their offer. The Sixers have been...
sorry, go ahead.
Just to finish, the Sixers have been very skeptical of the Clippers' ability to meet their trade threshold anytime soon and believe it would help Harden's market and the leverage element in regard to the Clippers if he played like his former MVP self and reminded other teams that he's worth pursuing.
That's
wink,
funny.
wink,
Very
nudge,
funny.
nudge.
Everybody's memory is so short.
Yeah.
And everybody's assumption that everybody's memory is even shorter.
Just play like an MVP and everyone will completely forget.
Have you looked
capable?
Hey, Atlanta Hawks, have you looked at Harden's basketball reference page in a little while? There's a lot of numbers in bold over there.
Yeah.
Big numbers. Check them out.
Hall of Fame
It's
percentage,
been a while.
99.2%. Come on.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the Clippers trade thing is interesting because it's a bizarre thing because Clippers have like one unprotected pick to trade them that they want to trade them. And they're trying to go like, okay, can we turn this unprotected pick to someone else for like one unprotected pick and a protected different pick?
It seems like you're trying to sell a car for $100, and the guy's like, I only have $50. Let me see if I can go to the bank. If I give them $50, they'll give me $250, and then I'll be able to buy the car. Like, how are you turning one?
Well, it's value. It's people, some team betting on, maybe it's a team like that has 2 picks or whatever in next year's draft and like a bunch of rookies or something, and going like, next year's draft not so good. Maybe we just commit to the idea of like the Clippers could be worse, and this could all fail for them, and they're making the bet that this one pick will be better than 2 protected picks or something like that. But I don't know why then Daryl will go like, yep, that's what I want. And it's like it's a lot of people's, it's like different valuations of the same like exact asset.
The last thing on the trade thing, we got this. I thought it was interesting. I don't think it's true, but I did think it was interesting. Came from John, Rights To Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Another perspective on why Daryl is holding so firm with the Clippers. Next year, he is planning to have cap space for potentially 2 maxes or close to it. The best 2 players in that group are probably Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And the only way those players are going to be available is if they're disgruntled or the Clippers have another underperforming year and the front office decides to start over.
Yep.
A lot of the Clippers' hopes to re-sign those 2 coincide with how the team does. How the team performs is really dependent on them getting an extra piece of point guard. Morey just isn't trading Harden to the Clippers. By trading Harden to the Clippers, he is also very likely removing the 2 best free agents from next year's free agent class.
Yeah, that's why when Harden was here, everything went great.
Yeah.
And they won a championship, and we're all happy about it. And that's why we are in the position that we're in. Trading Harden to the Clippers means automatically it's going to work out so good.
I do like it does increase. I think Morey would think that giving Harden to the Clippers will improve their odds of being a championship team.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does think that. Yes.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about this whole offseason. Like, this is interesting. Like, the teams, the same like free agent, like the precious on a pedestal free agent cap space. We're the only game in town. Drew Holiday probably gone. Kawhi and Paul George, there's rumors about them like starting to sign. It's the Toronto guys. It's the Bulls guys. It's LeBron.
All right. It's time.
What is it?
It's time.
There's not that many guys. Or like, I mean, then you go into like, I don't know. Jalen just got signed, but that's not a not a free agent situation. Brandon Ingram, I don't think they're going to give him up. Zion, who knows? Obviously very not interested in Kyrie. What are we doing? Who is it? It's the guys that we're talking about for trades are the same guys that we're talking about for the beautiful free agency money. I don't know. I don't know that this is working out. And that's why I feel like Daryl is just like, fuck it, just tell him to come back. Just like, maybe if I just hide. Daryl is always suspiciously tall. So like maybe if Daryl just hides his body in one of the crevices of the Wells Fargo Center, Harden just won't see him and he'll forget about him.
Yeah. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez is brought to you by LL Pavorsky Jewelers, another supporter of the Bark in the Park team, Providence Animal Center. LL has, oh, by the way, happy birthday, Missy Pavorsky, LL's daughter, Jake's sister, 22 years old. Happy birthday, Missy. LL, the first sponsor of the Ricky. Some would say the only sponsor of the Ricky. Wouldn't be true, but some would say that. Up to 360, he told me this week, Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have purchased engagement rings from him. Everyone's happy who goes to him. Everyone walks away with great jewelry at an amazing price, a new friend. Most of them walk away with a new Ricky t-shirt, as he has a big stock of them for everyone who buys engagement rings from him. It's a great carrot after you spend thousands of dollars on a ring to get a $20 t-shirt. Look, LL is the best. If you listen to the pod, you know there's simply no option to go anywhere else for an engagement ring than LL Pavorsky Jewelers. He treats everyone amazing. You get personal attention. It is low pressure. It is high communication. He is the only one you can go to. I speak of low pressure, good communication. He doesn't want you to just walk into the store because it could be busy. He wants you to make an appointment. That way he can get all of the information he needs from you. That way he can spend time with you. And if you don't want to come into the store, you don't want to drive into Philly, that's fine. You're somewhere else in the country, that's fine. He can do it all virtually as well. The store is at 707 Walnut, where it's been for over 3 decades. If you want to make the appointment, give him a call, shoot him an email, 215-627-2252, lee@llpavorsky.com, tweeted him at @llpavorsky. A supporter of the Bark in the Park Providence Animal Center run team and Mama T's Community Fridge are charities. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
A 4-year max contract to every Ricky listener who walks in.
Before we get to this Kelly Oubre thing, I want to first make a request. And second, I want to inform you of something that's been done to us as a community that is insulting. First of all, the Sixers opener, Sixers Bucks. We'll need to do a podcast that night. We'll need to watch the game.
It's my 34th birthday that night.
Oh, wow. Happy 34th birthday.
Well, not
I
yet,
can't believe you're 34. That makes me feel old.
Coming in.
When we started this podcast, you were 12 years old.
I was 12, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Little boy.
God, I honestly can't believe you're 34. Anyway, I will be in Atlanta. My brother and I are going to see Marvelous 3 in Atlanta. But if you are a Ricky listener in Atlanta and you would have A, really good internet, B, want me and my brother to come over and watch the Sixers game, and C, will let me do the podcast from your house, please send us an email, rightstoRickySanchez@gmail.com.
The offer of a lifetime.
I will buy dinner for everyone, buy pizza, something good, or whatever the Atlanta specialty is, that lemon pepper wings or whatever that Lou Williams used to like in Atlanta. That is just need an Atlanta listener, rightstoRickySanchez@gmail.com. All right. Here is the news that
when
affects.
Is this? Oh, it's for the it's for the home event. Okay, I'll be back here because I'm going to 2 games in Phoenix for the NLCS.
Oh. Yes, that is before this.
Yeah. Next weekend. Yeah.
So here is the insulting thing that happened. As you know, we do a trip every year. We do a trip, fly the process. We've been everywhere, been to Minnesota, been to Milwaukee, been to DC, where else? Been to San Antonio, everywhere. And we are, I think, Mike, you would agree, CJ, you would agree, having both been on a trip, we're incredibly well behaved. We are not like a rowdy Philadelphia crowd. We are weird, we are loud, but we are well behaved. No fights, weird chants, no weird taunting, any of that. So Joe from Fans of Philly, who organizes our trips, we decided after looking at all of the options, because there were a lot of obstacles, that Dallas in March on a Sunday would be the game. He called the Dallas Mavericks, who have refused to sell us tickets. He offered to make a large charitable donation to the Dallas Mavericks charity fund, which we did for Minnesota. They declined. He offered to pay a higher ticket price. They declined.
Wow.
He offered to give references from every other team that he has bought group tickets for. Now, mind you, he does a road trip to every Eagles away game. He does like 5 Flyers trips a year. He did Yankee Stadium with the Phillies. He's doing the NLCS in Arizona. He's done these. This is his entire job, is organizing these trips. Offered to provide references. They declined. Clearly, Mark Cuban, who is a fake good businessman, does not know what he's doing over there. There have been several examples over the last several years that it is not a tight ship with the Mavericks. I would ask you, if you are on Twitter, please tweet at Mark Cuban. Please send him emails. Please don't threaten anything, but this is absolutely, positively unacceptable that we're not allowed to buy tickets. And my final warning is don't make us get tickets any other different way. Because if we have to do that, we're going to have to be weirder. We're going to have to, like, if we have to go on the secondary market, we'll do it, but you're not going to get the money, Dallas Mavericks. And it just means that our behavior may be different, is my only, Mike, your reaction to the Dallas Mavericks not selling us tickets.
I love it. I love it. Great. Tremendous stuff. Good job. It's interesting when there's like obviously Dallas, we have such a rivalry with the Eagles, but we kind of don't really give a shit with the Mavericks.
Yep.
Or with like the Rangers,
Mhm.
like whatever. But it's interesting that now we're into that place where it's like all those old Dallas feelings start coming back.
Yes.
Because you're like, hey, that's the same fucking thing.
Yep.
That's what the fucking Cowboys are, assholes.
It's just cowardice. It's what are you scared of?
I mean, making a scene.
It's a sporting event. That's what making a scene is good. Yeah. We're not going to do anything bad.
I think if we were fans from Cincinnati,
we would be fine.
They'd be fine. But it's hearing Philadelphia. It's hearing how many tickets. And I think I don't even know if it's Cuban himself, like beeping into the other line and going like, "Don't do it, don't sell it."
Fake good business.
Just so much as people like scared of the like, it's not worth it.
Guy's a business one-hit wonder.
Oh yeah,
made a bunch of money during the .com thing. It's been coasting ever since. Fucking, this is a disgrace. Disgraceful.
It's even more embarrassing because I don't think he's involved. I'm sure he's not involved in this decision, but people under him assume he wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I think he would love it.
He should.
He would love it.
And he should come friggin' show up and
yes,
teach
us about business. How about this?
Teach us about business. No, don't do that.
About business.
No, please. Anything but that.
Come on, business seminar. Okay, this is Mark Cuban.
I honestly would rather him like do stand up. Like, go for it. You're a funny guy. Be funny guy. Sure.
Mark, this is my plea to you. If you decide to sell us the tickets at our party the night before or whatever beforehand, I will let you come to a sit-down Q&A with the listeners about business, and you can promote any of your businesses at said party.
I like let you. He could probably make like 100,000 doing that to some like, friggin' absolute rubes at some business school that want to pay him to do that. But you're saying I will allow you for free the gift of talking to.
Let me ask you this. Is this good business? A, you have two choices. A, give $35 million a year to a basketball player who has often opted not to play and has been a very clear anti-Semite, or take money from people who want to buy tickets. What is the best business move there?
Yeah, that's the meme, the button meme.
Yeah. So I don't know if you read this, but Gina Mizell of The Inquirer wrote a Kelly Oubre feature. And I did not know this. Let me read to you this. Now, if you remember, when they signed Kelly Oubre, we went back in time and found out there was a bit of a conflict between James Harden and Kelly Oubre in that a girl that James Harden was seeing, Kelly Oubre stole her at a party and then made James Harden mad, and then Kelly Oubre married her.
I don't like stole her.
Well,
but
for lack of a better word, she was with James Harden. She left with Kelly Oubre.
Yeah.
I don't mean that she was property. That's not what I'm insinuating, just for lack of a better word. I'm sorry. So that is there with a Sixers player. Here is from Gina Mizell's article. As the process lingered, that is Oubre's free agency process, Oubre fired agent Terrell Harris, the father and agent of Sixers forward Tobias Harris.
Agent is funny.
But took responsibility for his subpar communication because, quote, I needed to figure myself out. I needed to be whole so I could bring my all. Do we think it's weird at all that not only is there a history between Kelly Oubre and James Harden, but now Kelly Oubre fired Tobias Harris's dad from being his agent just before signing here?
Love it. Let's go. Maybe the Sixers could be the exact opposite of the Phillies.
Everyone hates everyone.
Everybody hates everyone. They never want to see each other. In fact, like they want to win so that they can like go home and be away from each other.
Yeah.
That's the motivation.
I would respect it. If you're going to be a Bear, be a Grizzly, right? The NBA top 10 or the top 100 was released. We were talking about it before. Mike does
Wait, I
not
like the other
care.
part too of this.
Okay.
The second part of the Oubre thing. I think it's
I will read it. Still, Oubre watched as teams around the league used their salary cap space. He eventually touched base with Drew Hanlon, his personal trainer, who has also been one of Embiid's longtime confidants, who believed a deal with the Sixers remained on the table. It was, quote, probably like the last one, Oubre acknowledged. But he appreciated feeling wanted by the Sixers, noting the similarities to when Kansas coach Bill Self was the first to recruit him as a high school prospect. So are what we to believe here that Drew Hanlon is what Michael Rubin thinks he is?
That's what I was going to say. I was like, Drew Hanlon as Michael Rubin.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
What is the deal? Why is there's all these fucking power players in the NBA that just it doesn't seem to be necessary. It's not like Elton and Daryl have not heard of Kelly Oubre.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelly doesn't have agents, people, like he's got to go through Drew Hanlon. Like, why is that the connection? You hear like Woj and Shams are like helping people find coaches and stuff, and you're like, aren't they around? Why are these the people that are like connecting? I'm so not like middleman, like deal man in that way. So I really don't understand why that is happening so much in the NBA, which is like just very public. Like it's all available. Everything's there. We're all like pulling from the same pot. Like, why are we going to Drew Hanlon? It's bizarre.
I like that Drew Hanlon is a connector. We need to continue to give him respect.
Hook it up, Drew.
They revealed the top 10 of the NBA Top 100 on ESPN. Now we were debating where Embiid would wind up. You were, Mike, correct. I was incorrect. The top 10 Anthony Davis, 9 LeBron James, 8 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Little aggressive,
No,
maybe.
I love it. Hell yeah.
Little aggressive.
No, he's the man. He's the best.
Little aggressive. 7 Kevin Durant, 6 Jason Tatum, 5 Steph Curry, 4 Luka Doncic, 3 Joel Embiid, 2 Nikola Jokic, 1 Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, let's do the Embiid thing first. Do you think I'm glad that Embiid is 3. I see the argument for it. Here's what I ask you, Mike. If you asked a GM survey, if you asked a GM of every team and said, for this year, you can have Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, or Jason Tatum, how many of those general managers do you think would take Joel Embiid? Because I don't think it's a very high number, to be honest with you.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the issues you have, it's not like Luka is a perfect player that you're.
No, I'm anti-Luka in every way. I'm just asking sort of unbiased.
I think for 1 year, most people would probably pick Steph.
Yes, I think that is fair. And I think a lot of people would take Tatum.
Sure.
Sure. And I think a lot of people would take Tatum. And I think a lot of people would take Joel Embiid. Yeah.
as being like the most valuable position. If you are a 6'8" wing who is also very good on both ends.
Yep.
That is like the most valuable thing that you could pretty much be.
Now, how about Nikola Jokic? And obviously, this is different than what I have said in the past, but I think I came to Jesus after the playoffs. I was very clear about that. After that season, how are we rating Giannis ahead of Jokic?
I have no idea.
It's crazy.
What a confusing thing. It's like they had it one way and they go like, let's just do it the other way so people click on it and be upset. It feels that level of like, obviously that is against the spirit of the kind of thing that we are trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
He won the MVP 2 years in a row, and then he won the finals and performed in the playoffs. Giannis lost in the first round. What are we doing? I just feel like Giannis gets so many. I like Giannis. He seems like a good dude. Like, I don't know. I have nothing against him.
Gets a lot of passes.
He gets a lot of passes. Why is that?
Gets a lot of passes. I don't know. He's seems like a nice guy, I guess.
People act like his defense
Charming.
is so excellent. Like it's Brook Lopez.
Let's be honest.
It's Brook Lopez.
The championship they won, there were no fans in the stands for most of the season.
Wow.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's as invalid as the Mickey Mouse title the year before, but.
And that's why the Sixers haven't won anything. There hasn't been the right amount of fans. We just have to get the exact number right, and then I think it would be good.
We've been screwed. It's I'm looking to do something more complain about something more pathetic than the Atlanta Braves did. So that is my complaint.
I think that's worth doing.
Yeah. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of The Process. I love Adam Kornblau. So Kornblau and Kornblau have been around 4 decades, started by his parents. He now runs the personal injury law firm, boutique personal injury law firm, top boutique personal injury law firm. The reason I like him for many reasons, he's a charming man, but the reason in this respect I like him the most is when he talks about what he does for a living. He is passionate, he cares about it, and he understands the gravity of what he's doing. A lot of advertisements you hear from personal injury law firms is basically horseshit because you are hearing from somebody who probably can't even represent you anyway. Most of these advertisements are for people who just give referrals. So you call this personal injury law firm that you see the advertisement for, or hear an advertisement for, and they just ship you off to somebody else. That's how they get paid. Kornblau, when you call Kornblau and Kornblau, you are getting him. He will represent you. Their team knows what they're doing. Any sort of personal injury, whether it is slip and fall, injured at work, medical malpractice is their specialty. If you've been hurt, if you've been injured, do not be a hero. See if there's anything there. And for a process that can be frustrating, time-consuming, a personal injury lawsuit, you need somebody in your corner who is going to keep you updated and represent you the best way. And Kornblau is that. We'll even come to your house. Offices all over the Delaware Valley will even come to your house. If you think you might have a case, give them a call or shoot them an email. You will get Kornblau. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam or email Kornblau, Kornblau, at kornblau.com. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of The Process. Speaking of litigation, need to bring CJ here. Actually, before we get CJ pop up, before we get to the CJ question, and CJ will deal with the punishment for me potentially breaking my promise, we have this voicemail, 833 Lickface.
So, Spike, Mike, and CJ, basketball question. Do you think Maxey could probably average about 7 to 8 assists as primary ball handler, and then Embiid's on the floor with him? You know, like Harden would basically just throw him the ball at the nail all year and get those automatic assists. But once that happens, would people stop questioning him as a ball handler because his numbers simply went up? Non-basketball question. Watching the Phils clinch last night. Does CJ look a little bit like Bryson Stott? Or is this just a 2 white guys with mustaches situation? This is Chris. Love the pod.
What do we think?
I see it a little bit, Siege.
He's a lot hotter than I am.
You know, I don't know if I agree.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow. Hot level. Yeah.
I could see CJ in the locker room spraying people with beer.
Sure.
shirtless?
Oh yeah. I could do that, but he looks better than me doing it. So
Hey, man.
So, CJ, Mike has deputized you in terms of my potential punishment if James Harden plays and I watch. Now, Mike has excused me if James Harden does not play for the Sixers and I watch the games. I have not broken my promise. I have agreed to a punishment. We got a couple emails, couple voicemails on this. This is from PJ. While I believe that watching the games is the correct call, I also agree that Spike should be punished. I suggest Spike get a tattoo of James Harden eating cheeseburgers. This will repair any broken trust from the Ricky faithful. This comes from Wikipedia Greg, who helped us with our Wikipedia page. Here are some of his punishment ideas. Order James Harden wine. Must be at least 3 bottles, no more than a case. CJ or Mike decides on the number. Order a quality fake beard. Mike works in Hollywood and surely has sources on this type of thing. He will have final say on beard acceptability. Drink 1 regular-sized pour of Harden wine while wearing the beard during every podcast. If James Harden is the leading scorer for the game at hand, the beard must stay on the entire podcast. If he is not the leading scorer, then it can come off when the wine is consumed. We also got a couple of voicemails, well, more than a couple of voicemails on the subject. I thought this one was the most amusing. 833 Lickface.
Hey, Spike, Mike, CJ, Chris from Dallas calling here. Just finished listening to Spike's decision, and while I do respect and understand why Spike is going to watch the Sixers games, which I think we all expected to happen, I do believe that a punishment is necessary. You can't break a promise and just get away with it, and I appreciate you acknowledging that, Spike. So my suggestion would be James Harden is constantly doing these random events, charity events all over the place, none of which are going to be in Philly to make it convenient enough for Spike to just go to something in Philly that he doesn't want to do. I suggest for a punishment that the next time Harden does a event, whether it be in Houston or eventually in LA when he ends up with the Clippers, whatever, not China, I know that's ridiculous, Spike should have to attend. Spike should have to attend that event and fully support whatever James Harden has going on. And at the same time, it'll be for a good cause, because regardless of how much we don't like Harden, at least he's doing something for charity in these instances. So my suggestion, curious to see what you think, Spike. And again, thanks for the pod. Love you guys. Bye.
CJ, first question. Are you ready to accept the responsibility of narrowing down these choices for the audience?
yeah, I am, and it's quite an honor. Thank you, Mike, for giving me the opportunity to do this.
CJ, do you agree with the idea that if Harden does not play, I have not broken the promise?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So can we, I'll forward you all the voicemails, the emails, maybe you can ask on social. Can we depend on you for the next pod to have 3 options for punishment?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Mike, do you trust CJ now that you hear his tone and see him?
CJ, I trust my life. This entire ordeal, though, is an absolute sham, pathetic, disgusting. I've encouraged people to stop listening to the podcast every episode.
You've done that for years, though.
For years.
Yeah.
Delete them.
Mike,
do any of these punishments stand out to you? Okay.
I decline. I am not attending. I don't vote. I stand there in the back of the chamber wearing the sourest face I can muster.
CJ, we'll see you next pod for the punishments. This came from Scott, Rights To Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Mike has made some great points this offseason. He is clearly
End of email. That's it. Thank you. Next one.
He is clearly the Ricky MVP of the offseason. Last season, I emailed the Ricky about Embiid's issues with playing strong around the basket. I won't rehash that email, but would like to follow up Mike's stats that you gave a few pods ago with some thoughts about Embiid's inability to be elite around the basket, especially in the playoffs. Embiid is way too heavy. I would say 40 pounds too heavy. That may sound extreme, but I don't think it is. He shouldn't be near 275, 300. He should be closer to 240 than 275. Embiid's lower body strength and conditioning aren't nearly good enough. Even in the regular season, he struggled mightily to get off the court from a standstill position. This contributed to his career worst rebounding and dunk numbers. He averaged 1.13 dunks per game. Those are Domantas Sabonis numbers. Gobert had 200 dunks in 70 games. Embiid had 75 dunks in 66 games. Gobert is a fraud, but you know what? He's a fucking monster physically. He's shredded and he has no issues getting off the floor from a standstill position and over bodies. I live in Utah, so I'm familiar with Gobert's reputation with working his ass off, keeping his body and his cardio in peak form. We're all aware of Embiid's history of lower leg injuries in the offseason, but I will not accept that as an excuse for not being able to get in peak physical form. None of those injuries prevent proper nutrition, upper body, and core workouts. Final graph. Embiid's weight and lack of strength are why he struggles to be elite finishing at the rim in traffic or through contact. It's caused him to be a below the rim big, which is unbelievable considering he's 7'2". He struggles mightily to move to much smaller defenders. His inability to get off the floor in the paint has forced him to favor finesse over strength. What should be an easy dunk or lay-in becomes an awkward fadeaway that, although sometimes does go in, too often leads to Embiid on the floor and or complaining to the refs. I'm not a body expert, but these are hard things to argue considering that he's not even overpowering people all that often with his size. He does sometimes, but he's done that less and less. I wonder if he would benefit from losing 25 or 30 pounds.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. This is the kind of thing that like it's just easy to say, you know, like he should be in perfect physical shape and he should be dunking over people. I think the bigger reason for his play is why he doesn't dunk so much and why he doesn't like it is his like fear of like lower like foot injuries and stuff. And
but couldn't you say that he would have fewer lower leg injuries if he weighed less?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those like it's doing like body inspector of being like Embiid needs to lose this much weight and put all that in his muscle. Like him and Gobert are such different players. And I mean, he honestly is more similar to Sabonis as a player with obviously a better jumper, a better touch and stuff. Sabonis being a better passer, not that similar, but he's not Gobert because he's not just a rim running, screen setting type of guy. He is I'm interested to see if because of the movement in this new Nick Nurse offense that everybody is raving about, if he gets more opportunities to like catch on the move and finish over people or finish through people. And, you know, odds are if he couldn't get it with Harden, who's obviously an excellent passer per the voicemail that was left before, Maxey is not going to give him as many like easy opportunities.
It won't even be close, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
But he's also not going to, he doesn't like doing it anyway.
Right.
You know?
But what about the point about forgetting about the extreme level, like the hyperbole end of it? His point about Embiid struggling to get off the floor, I think, is a fair point to make. I mean, it is pretty noticeable that he doesn't dunk. There's no alley-oops. There's anything, and he is significantly, it seems like, less explosive than he was 5 years ago.
To me, it seems like a choice rather than an inability to. It seems like, you know, think about times when he like at the end of a game, maybe it's like, obviously everyone's talked about Embiid's conditioning forever. Like it's just, if the answer is should Embiid have better conditioning, like the answer can't be no. Like obviously right. Yes. But you see him explode when he has to on defense sometimes. If he's flying over and then he like dives into the crowd or something like that, which he's gotten better at not doing as much after his first couple seasons. But yeah, I mean, look, if there is a better shape for him to get to, if he is deferring to size and physicality more than athleticism, sure, yeah. I certainly, at least in the playoffs, when they play more minutes, he looks tired. But I think part of that is also because of how much of an offensive load he is carrying. And I would like him to carry less of one.
I am going to side with the emailer more than I don't, actually. I think he is, we've talked about the condition. You admitted is the wrong word. You conceded that he should be in better condition.
Sure. Why not?
For sure. But I also think the idea of him being less heavy is a fair, especially given the evolution we've seen to his game and his physicality. I think it's a fair thing to wonder whether he should weigh less.
I do think he uses his size to overpower people all the time. I don't think he's doing it in a way
shitty players that he uses his size to overpower. It seems like
the shitty players.
Yeah, like he does it to like guys that we don't have to worry about.
I mean, I could see him doing it to like Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Anthony Davis is a bit of a fraud, but yes, for sure. I think that's possible.
I think he does it likes doing it, and then the jumper over the last couple of years that he has maybe used has seen more growth in is a reaction to people assuming he's like the threat of him overpowering them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why guys like, in the past, Marc Gasol, Brook Lopez, who are just as big as him, have given him some trouble. But that's what we talked about earlier in the offseason of like, could he add more touch in like different ways around the rim? That to me is the bigger issue. Like the way that Jokic has that floater, just little finishing like competitively, not just assuming a foul's going to come.
I do think for a guy as big as he is, he doesn't seem that strong. Like he's not great at finishing through contact.
To me, he does that like he kicks both his legs up when he does that, and sort of takes away. He's always done that ever since at Kansas, and like he's like under the rim, acting like he's a guard a little bit. I would love for him to sort of follow through on dunks and contact and getting and like doing some, Shaq or like Sean Kemp style, just like exploding fucking Chris Dudley or whatever his name is out of the gym. I would like to see more of that, but I think that he has altered his game to be foul drawing and finesse, maybe a touch more than I would like, for sure.
This voicemail I thought was interesting. 833 Lickface. Where is it? Hold on. I don't want to do the one about us being a Harris Blitzer podcast, though it is very funny. Here we go.
But he does obviously seem less explosive.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Good.
No, I'm just sorry. He does obviously seem less explosive. I think part of that is age, and it happens with every big guy that like as you get older, you develop more of your game, but you're not as bouncy as you were as a younger player. But yeah, look, no one's gonna tell me. I'm never gonna say no. Fewer dunks.
Yes.
Less power. Sure. I want him to fucking cram on people all the time. And so if that's a mental choice of him to do, or a conditioning thing or a lower body or losing some like pounds in that, great, fine. But I ultimately trust him to like, he's had so many issues with injuries and stuff early in his career. I ultimately trust him to know like what is right for his body. That is how I feel.
833 Lickface is the phone number.
Mike, CJ. This is the low point. I'm heartbroken. I really am. And guys, I know Daryl's friends of the pod, but sometimes, you gotta tell a friend when he's in trouble and he's not doing a good job. So I think it's time we kind of relitigate some of Daryl's moves and really the terrible job, poor performance he's done in his time here, all the way from the Horford trade. Like, how is it possible we gave up a first to get rid of Horford? He's more valuable now than he was 4 years ago. It's insane. The Harden trade, I don't even think we can get a first for Harden at this point. I don't think anyone wants him. We gave up 2 first-round picks and Simmons, and we don't know what else was available, but it's terrible. Get nothing for Thibault. I'd say the good moves the Melton trade and drafting Maxey are probably the only really good moves that he's made in his tenure as Sixers GM. And it's terrible. I think we're at the point where we're screwed for the next 2 years, and I don't know if we have a chance at success during Embiid's window. And our best option is probably to move him at this point. All right. Talk to you later. Appreciate the pod. Bye.
Now, the Embiid thing aside, the one thing that he did mention that I always account for as they had to do it was, I always say it's like, well, they had to give a first-round pick to get rid of Al Horford. Mm-hmm. And I think about it for a while, and they were in a bad position. Everybody knew they had to trade him, but they really have to give away a first-round pick to trade Al Horford?
Yeah, I mean, it was the contract. He was coming off a bad year.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you look back at it now, I'm like, yeah, Horford is still playing very good basketball.
Still good. Yeah.
Danny Green is Danny Green.
Yep.
Doesn't look good, but I think he was in cleanup crew. But absolutely, like, those things add up. That's what I've been saying for years now. Like, they just keep, the reason why they couldn't make an offer for Dame or Drew or whoever is because, like, they just kept pissing away assets to, like, have to account for previous mistakes or decide we're going all in. We're going all in again, and we're going all in again. And when you keep losing, when you go all in, you don't have much more to go all in with.
Yeah. All in becomes nothing. If there's no all, there's no all in.
There's no all. I will say that this is at so many different points in the history of this podcast. Absolutely indistinguishable from many other seasons and off seasons and the dawn of a new season and everything. We're used to it. We're used to low points.
I want everyone to know who keeps leaving sex email voicemails. I'm amused by them. I won't continue to play them, I don't think, but I am personally amused by them. 2 quick emails left. This comes from Shane, writes to rickysanchez@gmail.com. Hi, Spike, Mike, CJ, Walter, Rebel, Daryl, LL. Oh, and I'm he who should not be named, so I'm not in there. Basketball question is: Bryce Harper shows the world that he well and truly has that dog in him. Who do you think is the closest NBA player to Bryce Harper? Right now, it feels like Jimmy Butler, and it's not particularly close.
Yeah, I was texting Sixers Adam yesterday. Like, there has felt like a little bit of an inevitability to the Phillies the last 2 playoff runs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just going to do it, and everybody kind of knows they're going to do it. And the NBA equivalent to that does feel like the Miami Heat, where it's like, how are they fucking doing this again? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I would agree that Jimmy would be the most Bryce there.
Yeah, I could find ways.
I think Heat culture, Phillies culture, different kind of culture, but it is still a culture.
I think the difference is that there's 2 differences. Is that Jimmy has continued to be as a sort of like guy who Bryce Harper maybe was in his younger days, in that Bryce was sort of polarizing in the locker room and even with fans. Like, I remember Bryce Harper I wrote in the newsletter, Bryce Harper has really grown up watched him grow up. And I remember when the Phillies signed him, I was in Clearwater for spring training, and we saw a few Nationals fans that were like, good luck, like sort of shaking their heads. And if you remember, they won as soon as he left, and they tied those 2 things together. Now, whether that's true or not, Bryce Harper has become truly a leader, truly a good team guy, all of those things. I think Jimmy has held on to that polarization that maybe Bryce had early in his career, later in his career. That would be the biggest difference to me.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Yeah.
God, this Phillies run has been so much fucking fun. Daryl obviously doesn't understand it. He doesn't think anyone's having a good time. He doesn't understand
because there's no championship.
There's no championship, but no one's having a good time until the championship. The Phillies have beaten the Braves 2 years in a row. That doesn't matter. We're not having fun at all.
Wouldn't be fun to beat the Celtics every year.
Would not be fun.
Yeah.
Would not be fun to beat the Celtics in the playoffs. I wouldn't even acknowledge it. Wouldn't even know. But just for me, as something that you will know intimately, and listeners of this podcast will know, I followed Phillies minor leagues since I was in high school, since like 2006. And can you even fathom the joy and validation I feel that Orion Kerkering and Johan Rojas are playing major roles on this Phillies team at their age 22 seasons?
Interesting, though, that this is largely a purchased Phillies team and not a through the minors Phillies team,
for sure.
Largely, by and large. But yes, I can imagine.
There's a lot. But Stott,
sure.
Boom. Marsh, I would say was a trade, but they had to trade Logan O'Hoppe to get him, who's a nice prospect and a good player for the Angels. Nola, like there's guys that just that's what the best part about baseball, I think, and why basketball as a sport to follow doesn't quite have it, is like everybody gets a shot in baseball. Like there's never going to be a time when like once a season everybody holds Korkmaz over their heads and we parade them around the fucking streets. But like everybody in this series, in this playoff run, has had a shot to be like the hero. Even just like Matt Strom, who's pretty much fallen off the map a little bit over the last few months, was fun earlier in the season, was kind of, reverted to the mean a little bit, relatively average, comes in the and closes out the NLDS. Unbelievable. Everyone's excited for him. I would love that more in basketball. If there's a way for like, obviously Jaden Springer or Dan House to all of a sudden get like lifted up over their heads because like you made the final play or you made the shot or hit the free throw or whatever it is.
All we have is that one fucking Korkmaz 3 against Portland.
Korkmaz 3 against Portland, the TJ game winner against the Knicks.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a handful. Bellinelli in the in the confetti game.
Isaiah Cannon's 4-point play in a loss.
No.
Final,
but yeah, it's been such a cool run. I'm having a blast.
Final email. This comes from Tim. Rights to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. No basketball question because the Sixers are miserable, but do you clap when the pilot lands the plane? I've been traveling for a few months, and there have been several occasions where people clap for the pilot, and it's possibly one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Thoughts?
No,
I agree.
I don't clap.
I agree.
Maybe if there was like we're flying in crazy weather,
sure,
and we made it work. We survived, but just a regular flight doesn't seem.
Isn't it mostly like automated? I'm just shitting on pilots now.
Wow.
I just think it is. I think it's like mostly automated.
Anti-pilot union over here.
Look, if Sully is your pilot and he's landing the plane in the fucking river, saving your bacon, sure, you clap for Sully. But there's a little turbulence. I don't know. A real pilot would have avoided the turbulence.
I clap when a waiter or waitress brings over my meal. Every time.
It's like a jigsaw.
Standing ovation.
Yeah. Nobody claps for me at the end of this.
CJ does every time.
Yeah.
He says, "Good job, guys." He says, "You did so good." I don't know what to say about it, but I do feel like we have to say something about the fact that Adam Aaron got blackmailed.
So
I don't. That could be it. That could be the end of the statement. But it's hard. It feels wrong to not say something.
Can I read one line from it?
Sure. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me pull it up. So Adam Aaron, who was once the Sixers CEO, once offered me a job. Actually,
did he really?
He did. Did I ever tell you that?
Doing what? No.
So this was when he was CEO. So, first couple, I think he was 2 years he was there. And I was
only there for 2 years?
2 or 3 years, something like that. I forget how many.
What
whatever.
An era. Yeah. What a notable era.
And he was putting lipstick on a pig in a lot of ways. So whatever, the job he was doing. And I appreciate the fact that he offered me a job, even though the last time I reached out to him, he, instead of giving me free movie tickets, he gave me a link to buy them.
Yeah,
I don't remember that. But so this was when I was working for WIP, but I was like the web guy. I was like running the website and social media. I would do one show a week, but we were doing the podcast and I was a Sixers guy. But the broadcasts were on our competing radio station. The Sixers broadcasts were not on our radio station. So he called me, he texted me. He's like, or he maybe DM'd me, whatever it is. And he calls me and he goes, "Hey, we'd like for you to do the pre and post game shows, the Sixers broadcast." And I was like, boy, I'm honored. But I work
on the radio or on TV?
On the radio. And I was like, I'm honored, but I work for the competing radio station. There's no way I could do both of those. And he goes, that's not that big a deal. I know your boss. I'll call him. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. It's like, it's sort of like I play for the Sixers and the GM from the Celtics calls me and he is like, "Hey, do you want to play for us sometimes? I'll just call your boss and it'll be fine." So I wasn't able to take the job, but he did offer me a job.
Never offered me a job. Only offered me. Did I like a Spencer Hawes double on Twitter?
Yes. Remember when you had to apologize to him on the air on WIP? It was when they traded for Bynum, and you were a regular guest on my late night show, and he was fucking strutting about it. It's got to be on the Ricky feed, like back when that happened. Because I used to put my shows there. So not to get into the depths of this, but he was basically catfished by somebody. And there was a lawsuit, and he says that he basically allowed these things to become part of the suit so he didn't get blackmailed. But and there are a lot of, I guess, text messages that are suggestive, sexually suggestive. The paragraph.
What are they suggesting?
Sex. Actually. Yeah. The paragraph, and this is on semaphore.com, which had the story. But the paragraph that made me chuckle, though I do not chuckle if anybody's, this is bad for his life, whatever. Aaron, who has been married since 1987, mistook her for a woman with whom he'd had a prior relationship, asking whether she was a ballerina who had done, quote, unmentionable things to him, according to court documents. The two began trading messages, and Aaron eventually sent her explicit pictures, including of him and another woman. Whether she was a ballerina that he had done unmentionable things to.
Just be more discerning about sending pics of your dick online.
Yeah.
Why has that lesson not been internalized?
Well, what if you think it's a ballerina that has done unmentionable things to you, though?
Don't mention them.
Yeah.
You can suggest the idea of your dick without sending a pic of it.
I don't think you understand, though. She was a ballerina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, something I'll never relate to.
Yes, you mentioned it, and I was going to ignore it, and then it was like catnip. I couldn't stay away from it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're duty bound to report the news about Sixers goings on. And here we are doing that.
All right. We will talk to you next time, Wednesday night, I believe, in between NLCS games.
In between, a great way to spend the day off.
Yep.
The travel day.
Talking about the only team in town nobody wants to talk about.
That's right. The vibes couldn't be worse. I love seeing, Embiid and
Immaculate.
Maxey were at the game, which I think was pretty cool. Embiid left early, supposedly.
Yeah,
Maxey
left in the
seems like he's having a
seventh
good
inning.
time.
Yep.
I love seeing Fletcher Cox in the locker room hugging Castellanos. I thought that was awesome. It's a good city, and the Sixers are ruining it. End of the podcast.
We'll talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Spike Eskin is a